Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Translation Studies and Training, SOTST. Master of Arts, Translation Studies, Maths, English. First year. MTT 010 Theories of Translation. Block 2 Ancient and Modern Western Theories of Translation. Unit 5 Theories of Translation, An Introduction. 5.0 Objectives. After reading this unit, you will be able to know about the development and tradition of translation. Get acquainted with the ancient Western approach related to translation. Be familiar with the new Western approach related to translation. 5.1 Introduction. In this era of globalization, the need and importance of translation is not hidden from anyone. Today, the whole world has turned into a village. The concept of global village is gaining acceptance. Information technology and translation have an important role to play in this process. New discoveries, new ideas that come anywhere in the world, other language speakers want to get acquainted with them as soon as possible. Translation is an indispensable tool for this purpose. It is fair to assume that translation unifies the world linguistically and culturally. Literature, science, art and culture of two languages come closer. Through translation, the pace of development is accelerated by the process of mutual exchange. In the 21st century, translation has become not only essential but inevitable in the global context. Documents for economic, political, cultural relations between different countries are prepared in the languages of both the countries and are included through translation. Thus, the need and importance of translation is self-evident today. India is a small world in itself, many languages and cultures are there in India. The role of translation increases further in maintaining emotional unity and connection between this linguistic diversity. Literally, translation is a strong bridge. It works and becomes an ally in the all-round development of man. 5.2 Theories of Translation, the Western Tradition. 5.2.1 Ancient Period. In Western translation thought, like the ancient language, the form of translation is also the first oral or tradition of translation. The written form of the language starts dating from the 6th to the 7th century. Translation is believed to have originated with the written form of the language. The ancient tradition of translation dates back to about 3000 years before Christ. There were many languages in the kingdom of Sargon, the king of Egypt. The king made his proclamations in Egypt, the main language, and these proclamations were translated into other languages of the state for the convenience of the subjects. Informative about the antiquity of the translation is that 5 people used to listen to the sermon in the Hebrew language, but properly due to not being able to understand, they used to understand by getting the interpreter translated into Amedak language. Hampi, Hammurabi, 21st century BC, got his government orders translated into many languages for the benefit of the subjects, people. The systematic study of translation dates back to the 2nd century BC. A French engineer found Patil vs. order inscribed in Greek in the Russet stone near Alexia. In fact, the systematic tradition of translation is associated with translations of the Bible. The language of the Old Testament of the Bible was Hebrew. Many Greek-speaking Jews did not understand that so many of the Old Testament translations were made, the oldest of which dates back to 270 BC, was done in BC translation of the Old Testament of Aquila in the 2nd century at the request of the Academy, but this translation is ancient but not a suitable translation. This makes it very difficult to understand even the basics. 2nd century BC. In the same year, the Bible, Old Testament, was also translated by Viodocian and Simeses. These translations have also become somewhat awkward due to being based on word for word translation. Translation work is also ancient in Latin language, which has been the most translated in Greek. Many touching, literary and philosophical texts were translated from Greek into Latin. In this context, it would be appropriate to say that Latin has an important contribution in the development of the translation tradition. Around 210 BC, Homer's Odyssey was translated into Latin verse by Livius Andronicus. Among the Latin translators, Nadius and Ennius Horace, Catullus Cicero, etc., are notable, in which the work of Cicero is most important. He made a beautiful translation of the famous book Protagoras of Plato. Cicero also translated some plays from Greek and discussed the difficulties of translation. He was not in favor of word for word translation. He believes that the truth is that it is not always possible to preserve the expressive beauty of the source language. If I translate word for word, it will sound awkward and forced by necessity to make any changes in syntax or word scheme. With the spread of Christianity, the demand for translations of the Bible increased. Therefore, there were many translations of the Bible in Latin, but these translations were not up to standard. Therefore, in 584 AD, St. Dose gave the responsibility of translation of the Bible to St. Jerome. The translation was considered appropriate. He moved away from tradition and introduced a new style of translation following Bapat. Although this was the best translation of the Bible so far, traditionalists and conservative people protested against this translation and declared Jerome as an apostate. Realism and truthfulness cannot be spared. Today, Jerome is considered the Messiah of translation and a systematic translator. 5.2.2 Medieval period. Even in the medieval period, translation work in Latin continued in Europe, but these translations were not easy and simple, but monotonous. Mostly religious essays were translated. Venerable Bede translated John's Gospel in 235 AD. This translation is important in the development of translation. In the 12th century, Bishop Don Rahmando established a special school of translation in Toldas, Spain. Here many texts of Greek language were translated into Latin through Arabic and Syriac languages. That's why these translations could not be very systematic. In this era, there was opposition to word for word translation. Maimonides was prominent among those who opposed this type of translation. The contribution of others in the development of translation is also noteworthy. Arabs were curious and thirsty for knowledge. In the 8th, 9th, and 10th centuries, the Arabs introduced Indian Nahmak arithmetic, geometry, astrology, astronomy, Sangeet Swar Vigyan, medicine, Sushrut, Charak, ethics, Arthashastra, Mahabharata, partially, Panchtantra, etc. were translated. Similarly, in the 9th and 10th centuries, the works of Plato and Aristotle were translated by the Arabs into Arabic. In this period, meaningful translation was given importance, and there was no insistence on literal translation. Litius Pilate translated Homer into Latin. This translation had an important role in the Renaissance movement. Giovanni Boccaccio, 1512 to 1575, and Francesco Petrarch, 1304. 1574, encouraged Pilates to translate. In the meantime, the French Fayas were translated into English, and their translation is closer to the source texts. William Caxton and Christopher Marlin made a beautiful translation of Ovid's work, Metamorphosine. But this translation was done from the French translation, not from the original work. The intensive activities of translation into English begins with the reign of Elizabeth I and James I. Philosopher Plutarch's 46 to 125 work, Lies, was translated by Sir Thomas North 1579 AD. It was also used by William Shakespeare. This translation got special fame. A rich body of translation is found in England. It is said that in 15th century England there were more translations than originals. These biographies inspired much of English literature, and the translation of Homer's Iliad was completed in 1896 to 1616. 1967, Druden distinguished translation as an art form. He considered language translation to be better than literal translation. Alexander Pope translated the Iliad and the Odyssey. Cowper also translated the Iliad. These translators were biased towards neutrality. John Wesley translated the New Testament of the Bible. Translation thought was greatly strengthened by Wesley's translation. He also did serious translation thinking. He also gave 4 lectures on translating Homer. Thoughts: there should be originality in translation. He considers that is to be for the competent reader, not the general reader. Edward Fitzgerald's name is particularly noteworthy in the field of translation. He got special fame and popularity from the translation of Omar Khayyam's Ruwais. He adopted paraphrase and imitation in his translation. The original creation can be cremated to bring vibrancy and charm to his idea. There are 2 more views regarding the translation of the Bible. In one opinion, Dharma-feared devotees considered the words of the Bible and its sequence as important as a mantra. There was an urge to make the order of words similar to the moon. In the second opinion, few people were in favor of translation by giving importance of emotion. In his view, understanding the Bible by translation would be useful and even non-Christians would be able to understand straight Jerome's translation. Martin Luther, 1483 to 1540, is notable in the theoretical debates of translation. He presented some principles of translation. Donne. 1. Translate perfectly. 2. The word order of the text can be changed as per the requirement. 3. In order to express the meaning more precisely, such auxiliary words or auxiliary verbs can be added that the basic not in the text. 4. Conjunctive and disjunctive can also be used to clarify the translation, even if they are not used in the original text. Words in the source language whose equivalents are not available in the target language can be dropped. 5. Figures of speech in the text may be omitted or new figures may be added. Translation of rhetorical expression into literal expression and translation of rhetorical expression into literal expression can be done. 6. Utmost care should be taken for the facts of the original text. Attention should also be paid to the lessons. John Donne, 1540 AD, underlines that 1. The translator should understand very well the meaning of the creation and the purpose of its creator. 2. The translator should have good command over both the source language and the target language. 3. The translator should avoid word-for-word translation because it destroys the expression beauty of the original composition and also damages the meaning. 4. Translation should be in colloquial language. The translator should avoid the use of obsolete and complicated words. 5. The translator should create an effect through word choice and sentence order that is consistent with the original. Translation Theory of Tytler, 1981 to 1814. Bholanath Tiwari accepts Alexander Tytler as the world's first translation theorist. His thoughts regarding translation are as follows. It should come with the design. 2. The style and method of translation should be same in translation as in the original. Martin Luther, 1483 to 1516, is important in Amen, giving him a new direction, also translated his New Testament in German in 1522. On his translation, the German language became standard and considered an important element of translation. 5.3 Theories of Translation, Indian Tradition. In ancient India, the tradition of translation work is not available like in Western countries. Analyzing this fact, Hindi linguist Dr. Bholanath Tiwari considers these main reasons. 1. India was far ahead in all the major areas of literature and knowledge science in ancient times. It is known that many Indian texts related to mathematics, philosophy, toxicology, Ayurveda, music and ethics are published in different parts of the world, were translated into languages. In this way, India did not get much opportunity to become a donor or a recipient. 2. In some areas in which he got innovation from outside, he reconstituted it for the purpose of expressing it in his own style, in his own words after taking it in the form of translation, learning and assimilating it. For example, the Usrian influence on Indian astrology and the Greek influence on geometry can be seen. This instinct of assimilation can be underlined everywhere. It is possible that some translations may have happened and time has passed, many languages have emerged and influenced from Sanskrit. The Sanskrit language and its literature was so rich that there were very few translations from other languages, and whatever happened, it cannot be called a complete translation. These interlinguistic and symbolic translations can be considered, such as the conversion of Sanskrit poetry into Sanskrit prose, the hymns of the Vedas into the original Sanskrit. Translation comes under the category of interlinguistic translation. In Sanskrit plays, the male characters speak Sanskrit, but the women, the slave, the laborer, etc., speak Prakrit. Prakrit is also of many types. Sanskrit text was also given along with Prakrit dialogues. It is called Sanskrit Chaya. This can be placed under interlinguistic translation. Shadow translations of many texts of Prakrit are available. Gunada's Brihat Katha, which is originally a composition of Paishachi Prakrit, has had many translations in Sanskrit which are still available, such as Brihatkavaslok Sangraha by Buddhaswami, Brihat Katha Manjari by Kshemendra and Kava Saritsagra by Somdev. Sanskrit literature became very prosperous in the Gupta era. Major texts of Prakrit were translated into Sanskrit during this period. Texts related to Jainism, Vistivisika, Panchasangraha, Panchastikaya, etc., were translated into Sanskrit from Maharashtrian Prakrit. The well-known work, Gah Sattasai, Gai Saptashti, was translated into Sanskrit and many other languages. Even in modern times, translations are being done in Sanskrit. There were many translations of the Bible into Sanskrit. Sanskrit Panchtantra. It has been translated into many languages of the world. The literature of Pali language of India is vast in quantity, but Pali language translations did not happen very often. Dhammapda was freely translated into Pali in Varma. The possibility of translation of Dhammapda and other Pali texts in Tibetan, Japanese, etc. languages can be done, but no evidence has been available so far. In modern times, Pali texts have been translated into Burmese, Sinhalese, Tibetan, Chinese, Japanese, English, etc. In the modern era, mutual translation work started in Indian languages. Many Sanskrit texts in Hindi, including Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Valmiki Ramayana, Bhagavad, Vishnu Puran, Hitopadhish, Chanakya Niti, Bhartriharikrita Shatakrayam, etc., is remarkable. In addition to these texts, texts on medicine were translated from Sanskrit and Persian texts. Similarly, many texts of astrology were translated into Hindi. Translations of Sanskrit Lalit Sahitya Kavya plays in Hindi have been specially done. There were many translations of Prabodh Chandrodaya, Hanuman Natka, Mudra Rakshasa, Malti Madhva, Shakuntala, Uttar Ramacharitha, Karpur Mazri, Machkatika, etc. In the drama, among the translators, Raja Lakshman Singh, Shakuntala drama 1863 AD. Bhartendu, Ratnavali, 1868 AD, Mudrarakshas, 1874 AD. There were many translations in Hindi, Marathi, Bangla, etc. languages, which became very popular. Hanskumar Tiwari among Bangta translators and Prabhakar Machwe among Marathi translators are noteworthy. Apart from fine literature in Hindi, translations of other disciplines of knowledge have been relatively less. From the point of view of translation, Indian thought does not appear to be long and systematic like the West. Commentary and commentary method was especially prevalent. Here, this can be called interpretative translation. Similarly, Prakrit Jadi was translated into Sanskrit. Gunadhya's Brihat Katha written in Prakrit was translated many times in Sanskrit. The Gayas Pachti, Gadas, composed in Maharashtrian Prakrit was translated into Sanskrit and other languages. The popular Sanskrit text, Panchtantra, was translated into many languages. The tradition of translation in India is visible in some systematic form from the 16th century. In this period, apart from the literature of Hindu religion, the literature of Buddhism, Jainism and Islam were also translated. The first translation of Maya Yoga Vasistha in Hindi, Thadi Boli, can be considered, which was done by Ram Prasad Nirjani in 1768. In 1974, translation work started in the Raman Asiatic Society established by Sir William Jones. In 1951, Daulat Rai translated Harishancharya's Padma Purana. Translation theory in India has been discussed by those who have translated. Some famous literators have written about translation because they themselves have done translation work. Opinions or principles related to translation of some such scholars are being presented. Jagmohan Singh, 1857-1999. After translating Kalidas, Ritu Sanhar and Meghdut into Braj Bhasha, Jagmohan Singh has given his theoretical views in the introduction part. Instead of the emphasis should be on translation. 2. The translation should have the same effect as the original. 2. The translation should be in accordance with the time and nature of the original composition. Mahavir Prasad Dwivedi, 1864 to 1938 AD, Dwivedi himself translated Sanskrit and English texts, as well as inspired many literateurs and scholars for translation. Dwivedi's principles related to translation are: there is a feeling, the use of secondary words is only to express feelings. Sridhar Pathak, 1859 to 1928. Pathak ji translated Sanskrit texts. He listed his translations in the introductions to his translated texts. We have also discussed related issues, which are as follows: I. Such material of Tamya, in which special things related to the specific culture here. It is very difficult to translate to the developed target market. 2. Translation has the right to leave something and add something, keeping in mind the readers of its translation, but even while doing so, the translator should preserve the original text. Translation is better than that. The translation of the 31st chapter of 10th volume of Bhagavad is on the front page of Shri Gopika Gita. Khadi Boli in Hindi. 4. There are more possibilities of errors in row per row ratio. Ramchandra Shukta. Acharya Shukla translated from English and Bengali to Hindi. Some of his roles have translational thinking. He had the opinion about translation as under: I. Language should be saved as far as possible from the effects of source language in translation. 2. The language style of the translation should be as fluent as the original. 3. Due attention should be taken in the use of words related to the subject in translation. Shukla ji writes the translation of Light of Asia, Anant, in Yudhparit. The words are kept in Buddhists. 4. Translation can be of both original and original type as per requirement. A few some changes are made in the ornaments used in the source language which cannot be brought in the same form. Harivansh Rai Bachchan. Bachchan ji was also a great translator along with the literature. His beliefs related to translation are as follows. 1. There should be importance of emotion in translation. 2. Translation army is needed in the same verse. 3. Change in translation is not appropriate from the point of view of culture, etc. 5.4 Buddhist theories of translation. 5.4.1 Introduction to Buddhist literature. The language in which Lord Buddha preached is famous as Pali. His teachings, sermons and discourses were collected after Mahaparinirvana of Mahatma Buddha. This collected literature is famous as Tripitak. Vipitika means three Pitaka or Piterya Sutpitka, Vinya Pitaka and Abhidhamapitaka. Buddhist literature is available in both Sanskrit and Pali languages, but the Buddhist literature written in Pani is more ancient than the Buddhist literature found in Sanskrit. 11 Sutta Pitaka. It contains a collection of war poems in the form of arguments and dialogues. There are 5 bodies in the istic 2, long body. There are 3 dharma in this: Silbandha, 15 suttas, Mamya, 10 mouths, and Pakshik. Vama, 11 suttas. H. Jimnikaya. There are 152 suttas in these with medium detail. This body is divided into 15 years. This body contains Buddhist interpretations. There is an explanation of the 4 Noble Truths, along with the political, social and religious conditions of that time, refutation of solism, and discussion of many methods of meditation is in this body. 2. Joint body. This body contains an analysis of philosophical methods. It has 56 suttas and 5 classes. 4. Anguttara Nikaya. There is an explanation of many religions in this body. It has Sar Bhag, Nipat, and 2,300 sats. V. Security body. The last of the Sut Pitaka is full. He is. It contains a collection of lessons. Khuddha ka Patha. Dhammaptha, Udana, Patha, Itikrant ka Suttanipta. Vimnapatya, Taktyu, Dargaya. Berigtha, Jathaka, Nil, Patitamidanma Abdana, and 2. Vinay Pitaka. This Pitaka contains a collection of 222 rules of conduct to make the life of monks and nuns humble and self-controlled. It is believed that these rules were composed by Buddha himself. 3 passages, texts, in Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Vibhanga, 5, 3, family. There are 2 divisions of dissolution. I. Parajik, it contains the preaching of 4 dhammas, it is related to exclusion of religion. There are 92 sermons in the Pachniya. There is a discussion of atonement in this. 2. Ditch. There are 2 sections in this, and in Chuntavag Mahavan, there is a description of religious rules, religious practices, rituals, rules of travel and residence, medicines and costumes of monks, etc. The bridge describes the entire life of Buddha, musicians and various rituals. 3. Family. An abridged version of the teachings of the Vinaya Pitaka, it is in question and answer form. In this there is an explanation of the costumes, worship, miksha, etc. of the monks. 3. Jamyam Pitaka. This deals with the philosophical side of Buddhism. There are 7 texts in this Pitaka. 1. Dhammasangani, I. Vibhanga, 1. Metal Katha, 4. Pugal Panjati, V. Kathavat, 6. Samak, 6. Pan. In addition to Pitaka literature, there is also Anupitka literature, which is being composed continuously. Buddhist literature and translation. Buddhism was widely propagated outside India as well. Warrior religion literature is very vast in size. Buddhist literature has been translated mostly in the form of commentaries. Stories were also created. Buddha Ghosh, Buddha Dharmpan, etc. were famous Artha story writers and commentators. The later era of war cry, from the 12th century to the modern period, is the era of commentaries. This is called Tika era in Buddhist literary history. The number of these vaccines is huge. Following are the main commentaries of Buddha. Samantapasdika. Commentary of Vinaya Pitaka, Atalini, Commentary of Patimokha, Samoha Vinodini. Commentary of Vibhanga, Gangat Vilasika, Commentary of Long Nikaya, Pachani, Reva. Of Mani Nikaya, Sharatvarapkasini, Commentary of Combined Body, Commentary of Anguttar Nikaya, Commentary. The Buddhist interpretations and commentaries are as follows: Madhurpitmani, Buddhavansa, Vinaya Vivicha, Vinaya Pitaka, Abhidhavtara, Abhyama Pitaka, etc. Following are the commentaries of Dharmpala Parmetyadaipani Parmattinusa, etc. In a broader context, commentary and commentaries also come under vernacular translation. In this, the same thing is expressed in the same language in a different style. Commentaries of Buddhist literature are written to make Buddha's words and teachings easy to understand. Mahapandit Rahul Sankrityayan, Bhadant Anand Kaushalyapan, Bhikshu Jagdish Kashyap, Bhikshu Dharmarakshit, etc. are notable among the translators of Tripitaka literature. Mahapandit Rahul Sankrityayan translated Dhammapada. It was first introduced by the monk Pragyananda, the Buddhist Mahatma, published from Risaldar Park, Lucknow. There is also a Sanskrit shade in this translation. The translation is in Hindi, but the first is the Sanskrit Chhaya translation. The Therigatha translation was published in Hindustani Academy, Allahabad's magazine, Hindustani, in 1947. Thergatha Mahapandit Rahul Sanskritin translated Bargva. Every effort has been made to simplify the translation. The definitions of Buddhism and philosophy are explained in the footnotes. Dirghanikaya Mahapandit Rahul Sankritayan translated Dirghanikaya in Hindi, which was presented in 1996 by the Buddhist Mahasabha, published from Lucknow. Rahul ji also translated Vinaya Pitaka, Madhyam Nikaya. Mahaprinithyana Sutta was translated by Bhikshu Dharma Rakshit in 1958 and published from Sarnath, Varanasi. In 1959, Dhammapda was translated by Misakshit, which was printed from Master Khilalal Sankataprasad Sanskrit Library, Kachikti, Varanasi. 5.5 Major theories of translation. On the basis of what has been discussed so far, these translation theories can be outlined. I. Principle of equivalence. The principle of equivalence is important in the principles of translation. Catford is considered the originator of this theory. Catford believes that translation is the replacement of textual material of the source language by equivalent textual material of the target language. Thinking seriously in the field of translation, Eugen Neede has propounded the principle of equivalence. Neede emphasizes the equivalence of both content and style and Shelley in this theory. Thinking closely, it is clarified that there cannot be 100% equivalence between two different languages, hence there cannot be complete equivalence in translation. A good translation can be close to the original, and this is possible only when the translator has a good knowledge of the source language and the target language. Equivalence also requires adequate knowledge of the other subject from the translator. 2. Theory of interpretation. Translation is considered interpretation in the Western and Indian perspective. Neede also believes that there is something in the translation that needs an explanation. Romain Jacques and James Holmes have also considered translation to be interpretation. The translator has to resort to interpretation on certain occasion. Literal translation of proverbs, idioms and local sayings, social, cultural references, etc. is not possible. In such a situation, the translator has to apply this principle for translation. When translated from an explanatory point of view, these things become clear and understandable in target language. To prevent the translation from taking the form of an interpretation, footnotes are also used. The biggest limitation of this theory is that the translation loses its meaning when it is overinterpreted. Therefore, the translator should be very careful to explain the poetry. 3. Theory of meaning communication. The significance of language, communication and translation lies in the communication of meaning. Almost all linguists and translation theorists agree on the fact that meaning is the main factor in translation. Translation becomes meaningless if the meaning is not communicated. Dr. Johnson is of the opinion that translation is to transfer to another language while retaining the meaning. The translator should take special care that while staying within his limitations, he should remain close to the author in terms of communication. Translation conforms, shadow, to the original but not the original. In fact, something is added and Something is left out in end translation because 100% translations are not possible at the level of meaning. Peter Newmark, while accepting the importance of meaning communication in translation, believes that there is a possibility of loss of meaning in translation. Nevertheless, maximum transfer of meaning is appropriate in successful translation. 4. Theory of integration in cultural contexts. This theory has been presented by the famous sociologist Malinowski. The cultural importance of translation is universally accepted. Translation is considered a cultural bridge. Each language has its own culture. There is a special difficulty in the translation of expressions related to the cultural aspect. It is appropriate to translate by understanding the cultural contexts of the source language and the target language. Malinowski believes that translation is an integration of cultural contexts. 5.6 Let us sum up. Although the formulation of translation theory is an important event of the 20th century, translation-related discussions have been going on for hundreds of years. It has a long tradition in the West. Much attention has been given to the discussion on the process, method, and nature of translation. In India also, many sources of translation have emerged from the tradition of translation. Some principles of translation can also be outlined from this entire discussion, the main ones being the principle of equivalence, the principle of interpretation, the principle of semi-communication, and the principle of integration in the cultural contexts. Thank you for watching. We will see you